Would you say you're a perfectionist? Or do you bristle with that? Now, I want to clarify some things about perfectionism. Perfectionism is not about getting upset that you didn't get 98% on the test. Actually, perfectionism is way more advanced or inclusive or prevalent than you actually would think. And so this episode is about learning what kind of perfectionist you are. And I have the quiz. It's 9 questions. That's it. And what I'm going to look at is what kind of perfectionist are you? Now, this might sound very interesting and weird. And what are you even talking about, Dara? And that's okay. As we look at the results, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of perfectionist you are. And before I give the win, I want you to know that there is the pleaser, the procrastinator, the overdoer, and self-doubter. Does any of that resonate with you? There's the all or nothing. There's all sorts of different forms of perfectionism. And I just want to let you know before we go into the details of this all, it was an actual form of self-preservation. So if you fall into any of those traps, it's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because you're not clever enough. It's not because any of that. It's because when you were little, you figured out how to survive in the tribe that you were in. We did not pick our parents. We did not pick the way that we were raised. But now that we're adults, we can decide how we want to think about it and how we want to work through it. Let me share a win in the membership, and then I'm going to talk more about this whole concept of perfectionism and ways that we can work through it. I am the president of the 12-Step Perfectionist Recovery Program, and I do help women along with myself. I got coached today by my coach. She said, it sounds like your perfectionism is coming back. And I was like, you're right. I don't have to be ashamed of that. I can just realize, oh, that is some old patterning that I have fallen back into. No problem. I can change. I can do things differently. All right. So I want to share this win. It's so cool because this member, she came into the program. She started working with her body and changing her relationship with flour and sugar. The thing that was interesting even today when I asked her, because she's lost all this weight and she's keeping it off fairly easily. And I asked her, so what is it that's happening? Why are you able to keep this weight off? She's like, I've lost my desire to go to the flour and sugar, which is awesome. This is what's happening. Okay. This is what happens in my membership. When you are not so distracted, I heard a snippet from a podcast yesterday. This woman said the first thing that happened when she'd wake up in the morning is she'd think about her body and how it wasn't good enough and how she needed to be skinnier and stronger. She realized, she listened to a talk we actually go to the same church, about gratitude. And she realized that she wasn't actually being grateful for the body that she had. And so she wanted to change that. She wanted to change that attitude. And she wanted to, first thing in the morning, not have all of these thoughts filled with, I'm not good enough, but thoughts of, what are all the wonderful things about my body? When these women work with me, they realize, oh, I don't have to have all these negative thoughts about myself and about my body. And so they get more energy. They have more, I call it mind juice in their life. And what she was able to do was, she has 4 kids. Her one son wrote them and said, I don't want anything to do with you guys. And of course, that's devastating. And she didn't really know how to handle it. She'd been in the program for she joined in July or August. And then by Christmas, before Christmas, she said, I really want to heal this relationship I have with this one son of mine. And so she wrote a letter and she worked on that letter and she really perfected it and sent it. And she got a notice saying, maybe after Christmas we can talk. And just last week, she went to his home and said, "Is this the time to talk?" And his kids came off the bus. The one remembered her, the other one never really knew her. And she said it was just lovely. It was just so wonderful. And these are the kinds of things that happen inside my membership because we have more mind juice. We're not fixated and distracted and being negative about our body and about our life, focusing on what's not good enough. We have these brain skills and tools to create new realities for ourselves and to work through the problems and to really get to the root of what's going on. I wanted to offer that to you because a lot of us feel like we don't know how to cope. If we were told you're crying and someone says, "I'll give you something to cry about," or if you went to my grandpa's house, he'd say, "If you were crying, I'm just going to kick you out." One time my brother was crying and my grandpa just put him outside and it was freezing cold. My mom said the other day, I didn't know what to do. I was like, yeah, I can imagine that. We weren't taught those coping strategies, and inside my membership, you learn them. So let's go into perfectionism. If you had this thought, if I'm perfect, if I do things the right way, if I do it in a way that won't have any criticism, then they will have to accept me. And I don't have any room for error. And so I'd just accept it. That was a strategy that it makes sense, right? It makes sense, but it's actually not realistic because none of us are perfect. Even as adults, we're not perfect. Even with me being the president of the Perfectionist Recovery Program, I was going through some of the things that I'm working on in my business, and my coach, she said, "Dara, there's a lot of perfectionism coming out." And I was like, "Really?" She gave me some examples and I was like, "Oh, I can see that. I can see that." I realized, okay, I get it. I understand. We were able to use some strategies, process some emotion, make a plan, and move forward. That's what happens inside my membership. Perfectionism was just a strategy of how to survive in the tribe. Just like procrastination, another strategy. If I don't do it and other people do it before me, then I can learn from them and they can get the flack. Another strategy would be people pleasing, right? So if I just say things that people I know they want to hear, I won't be at risk for being rejected. These were just all survival strategies. But the problem is now our brain likes to conserve energy. It looks for pattern. And so now we just do it on autoplay, which is not healthy, right? It's not good. So that is what we need to work on. And that's why we need to rewire our brain. Now, in the show notes, you'll see the quiz. And I'm actually going to read the questions. There's 9 questions, okay? And if you go to my quiz, you'll see the questions. I want you to go take the quiz and see what happens. As we look at what kind of perfectionist you are, think about this. Are you a procrastinator? Do you put things off? Do you say things like, when this happens, then I'll do this? Or are you freezing, scrolling, organizing your pantry? You have big dreams. You have this clear vision of what you want. You have a deep knowing of what you're meant for, but you don't do it. You reorganize your pantry, you scroll. It's not that you're lazy, it's fear. Fear of getting it wrong, fear of judgment, fear that you still won't be enough. So you wait and you research and you stall. And in the quiet in between, you turn to food or distractions to soothe that pleasure. Here's what's really going on. You're afraid that if you try and fail, it'll confirm your worst fear that you're not enough. So you stay in the safety of almost starting. It creates a cycle of stuckness, shame, and self-doubt. But here's the truth. You don't need more motivation. You need more safety. Safety to try, to mess up, and to show up anyway. When women work with me, they realize that they can change. What about a pleaser? Are you a pleaser? Now, let's see. Let me read. This is actually, if you take the quiz. So you're the kind of woman who always shows up for everyone else. You're kind, reliable, thoughtful, deeply loved, and often leaned on. But here's the truth. Your ability to care for others has come at the cost of caring for yourself. You've learned to avoid discomfort by smoothing things over, keeping the peace, staying small. You say yes even when you want to say no. You take on too much, and when your needs pile up silently, you buffer with food, scrolling, or spending, then beating yourself up for not being disciplined enough. You're not broken. You're just tired of carrying everyone else's emotions while ignoring your own. Here's what you need to know. You don't need another diet. You need emotional permission. You don't need more control. You need more truth. And you don't need to fix yourself. You need to meet yourself with love. When women like you work with me, they learn how to stop people pleasing, take up space, and finally feel proud of who they are without the emotional weight. Is that you? Or what about this one, the overdoer? You are strong, capable, relentless. You've held it all together for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to just be. As an overdoer, your nervous system is stuck in hustle mode. You're always proving, fixing, working. But underneath it, a belief that your value is in what you do, not who you are. A fear that if you slow down, it will all fall apart. A craving for peace, but no idea how to create it. So you run yourself ragged, then eat, scroll, or spend just to find a moment of relief. But here's the truth. You don't need to earn rest. You need to allow it. You don't need another planner. You need a pattern interrupt. When people like you work with me, they let go of guilt, create space in their days, and build a life that actually feels like theirs. Now, is that you? You're a self-doubter. You're thoughtful, introspective, deeply aware, but somewhere along the way, that awareness turned into self-questioning. As a self-doubter, you live in your head. You replay conversations, apologize for everything, second-guess decisions hours or days later. You're smart, but stuck because you can't move forward when every choice feels risky or wrong. Here's what's really happening. Your brain learned to scan for danger, especially emotional danger. It's not indecision, it's self-protection. But that protection has become a prison. The result? Paralysis, shame, emotional exhaustion, and yes, eating or spending to escape the loop. But here's the truth. You don't need more confidence. You need self-trust. The self-trust isn't a feeling, it's a skill, and you can build that. When women like you work with me, they quiet that inner critic, reconnect into their wisdom, and create forward motion without fear running the show. So I want to encourage you to go and take that quiz. I want to encourage you to really slow down and think, is this me? Is this what's going on? The more specific you can be about your problems, the more specific you can be about your results and the strategy of how to work through it. I want to reemphasize something that I hope everyone listening will know. Your worth as a person is always up here. The number on the scale, the amount of stuff you get done in a day, none of your worth ever changes. So please, if you relate to anything I just shared, come talk to me, join my membership, learn these tools, learn these strategies, and let's do it. No more waiting. No more wasting time. Life's too much fun to be burdened by doubts. Take care. See you soon.
If you aren't loving your current life and hear yourself saying things like, I should be happier, I should be getting more done, or question how productive and fulfilled you are, this podcast is for you. I'm Dara Thomason, professional quilter turned life coach for quilters, where I show you how to overcome obstacles like perfectionism, people pleasing, overeating, overcomplicating life, so that you can really start to enjoy your life by learning and using tools for your brain to help you transform your everyday living. Are you ready to make these changes? I'm ready to help. Let's start your transformation one UFO at a time.